Good morning, everybody. Hope you guys are having a good day. We are going to talk about our first set of comma rules today. This should not be too long of a video. And then tomorrow, you will actually complete your comma rules number 1 assignment. So today, the only thing you have to do is watch this video. And then tomorrow, on Tuesday, January 12th, you will have an assignment to do. So here we go. If it'll let me. There we go. Okay. So today we are going to talk about, first we're going to talk about the Oxford comma. The Oxford comma is the last comma before and in a list of 3 or more things. So, for example, I love strawberries, comma, hot fudge, comma, and Oreos on my ice cream. This last comma right before and in this list of 3 things that I like on my ice cream, this is called the Oxford comma. Then in this sentence, I have more than 3 things, but I still have and connecting this last thing with the rest. So it says, this semester I am teaching Junior American Lit, comma, IPR, comma, Explorations, comma, Sophomore World Lit, comma, and Critical Thinking. And that last comma here in the list, that's the Oxford comma. So the Oxford comma is important to use in your writing. There are some people that say that you don't need the Oxford comma. In America, we like to use it, but in other English-speaking countries, they, like in England, they don't necessarily like using the Oxford comma, so sometimes it's debated whether or not you should use it. But there are 3 important reasons why you should use it. Number 1, it alleviates confusion in your reading, and I have some examples that I'll show you in a second. Number 2, the SAT and the ACT tests that you'll take, like the SAT test is actually required of students at Edwardsville to take as a graduation requirement. The SAT will test you on whether or not you use the Oxford comma, so you're going to need to make sure that you do that. And the third reason is that if writers don't use an Oxford comma, sometimes confusion can happen, which looks like this. So when you use the Oxford comma, you're separating things in a list. So, you can talk about what you had for breakfast and say you had eggs, comma, orange juice, comma, and toast. If you don't use the Oxford comma, it almost can read as though you are not separating those last 2 things. Like the last 2 things in the list are actually something that is used together. So if you don't use the Oxford comma, it might look like I had eggs, orange juice, and toast, as in orange juice and toast are together instead of separate. Now you're probably like, obviously no one's putting orange juice on their toast, but there are different things where, or different sentences that you could write where you would be a lot more confused, and I'll show you examples to that after we talk about our next comma rule. So this next comma rule is called the noun of direct address comma, and this one's also super simple. But a noun of direct address is the person or thing to whom you are writing or speaking. So it's when you're addressing someone or something, that's the noun of direct address in a sentence. So, for example, if I said, see you later, Charlie, I'm talking to Charlie, I'm addressing Charlie, and I need a comma before his name. Same thing when I say, be quiet, class. I'm talking to the class, even though the class is not one person, it's a thing, right? It's still a noun, and I'm addressing that noun, so I need to put a comma before class. Same thing if you say, happy birthday, Mom. You're addressing Mom, it's her birthday, right? So if you ever write on someone's Instagram or you text somebody and you say, happy birthday, Jack. Before you say Jack, you need to put a comma before it, okay? This is a rule. It's not even a debated rule. This is just a comma rule that everybody needs to make sure that they follow when they're writing. So here's some more examples. I just gave you examples of where the noun of direct address is actually at the end of the sentence, but sometimes the noun of direct address is at the beginning of the sentence. So, for example, Mom, I can't find my shoes. You're still addressing Mom, and now you need the comma after Mom instead of before Mom, if mom would come at the end of the sentence. Like you could say that differently and say, I can't find my shoes, mom. Well, then you would say, I can't find my shoes, comma, mom. But in this case, you're saying, mom, comma, I can't find my shoes. Students, comma, take out your books. Nick, comma, will you let your brother know dinner is ready? Okay. So you're always using that comma to set the noun off from the rest of the sentence if you're addressing that noun. So here is just another example. Sorry, I've got like a Zoom link up here. So sorry, that's probably annoying. But here's another example of why noun of direct address commas are important. So if you forget to use the noun of direct address comma, this sentence, the first sentence on top, reads as though you're going to eat your grandpa. Like, let's eat grandpa, which makes no sense, right? You would never do that. But if you did use the noun of direct address comma, like what's in the sentence at the bottom, you're saying, hey, grandpa, like, let's eat, which is obviously what you're meaning to say. I mean, hopefully, unless you're like a cannibal or something, which would be like so weird. So you always need to remember this noun of direct address comma. It's important, right? Okay, next one. Okay, so here we go. We're going to like combine these two together here. Okay, so I'm going to move this. I'm sorry. That's so annoying. Okay. So here's another reason, like when the Oxford comma and the noun of direct address comma can kind of come together, and this is why it's very important to use proper punctuation. Otherwise, people can totally misread what it is you're trying to say. So first of all, if you use the Oxford comma and you're separating things in a list, you're saying, we invited the rhinoceri, comma, Washington, comma, and Lincoln. I know it doesn't make any sense, but just bear with me, okay? If you use the Oxford comma, you're separating all of those things. If you don't use the Oxford comma and you type it like it's typed right here in this sentence, we invited the rhinoceri, comma, Washington, and Lincoln. Okay, right here, this is actually a noun of direct address comma. It's like you are addressing the rhinoceri who are named Washington and Lincoln, which is why their heads are here on the rhinos, okay? And then I put another little president down here laughing because, why wouldn't I? Because it's hilarious, right? But here's just another example of how punctuation is important. These comma rules are important, and this is why you need to know these things, right? Another one of the reasons why I think just punctuation in general is important, and also using the Oxford comma is actually important, is because when people see that you use this punctuation correctly, like whether it's, your boss at a job or a teacher, or professor, or just like your grandma when you're writing her a birthday card or something like that, it shows that you're educated and that you do care about like the perception that other people have of you about being educated and knowing what it is you're doing, right? Because you might be saying, well, people are going to understand what I mean anyway, which, you know what, you're right. Probably 90% of the time, people are going to understand it. But they might also have to go back and reread the sentence again, and maybe one more time just to make sure that they're hearing you correctly, right? And you don't want people to have to do that. You just want to come across as an educated person, right? That you're not ignorant, and you know what you're talking about and you know what you're doing. So this stuff is important. And then I think there might be one more slide. Okay, so now you're going to use this tomorrow when you take this quiz. You're going to use this PowerPoint to help you complete the CommaRules number 1 puzzle piece. And you'll also need to refer back to this PowerPoint again later this week. But all of the questions that you're going to have on the CommaRules number 1 assignment, that they're all going to be able to be answered by looking at this PowerPoint. So make sure that you pull that up when you take that assessment, okay? That is all I've got for you guys today. I hope that everybody has a great day, and remember to use your commas.